So you may have seen my previous video on motion-activated stair lighting without staircase modifications. Now, while the system works great, there has been one nagging issue that I've tried to code around with automations. But one of my viewers reached out with a simple, elegant solution to resolve this problem. I'm going to show you that next, so hang around. Hi, and welcome to Resin Chem Tech. A lot of you have made a number of humorous comments to my first video regarding ghosts and phantoms and the lights going off on the stairs by themselves. And even though I did have that occur a little bit at first, but I tracked it down to a faulty motion detector, I did still have a nagging problem with one of those motion sensors. One of my viewers, who goes by the name of Dorfmeister, had come up with an elegant solution and a pretty easy upgrade that I think is going to solve my problem, so I'm going to put that in place today and see if it works. So an issue I've always had with my motion-activated stair lighting system is this bottom motion detector. And that is due to the fact that this side of the stairs is open. And because of that, even though I have the fins on there, it's possible for the motion to be detected. Actually, here on this side, you see when I just walked by this opening, the motion was detected. In addition, that also means it's possible that motion would be detected just when walking by the bottom of the stairs and you never turn and go up. So you get some false triggers. Now, what I've done to try to correct that is I've actually added a slight delay. So when you come around the other side of the stairs, motion is detected. It waits about a half second to a second before it actually turns on the lights to give you time to come around. Now that's all fine and dandy unless you approach the stairs from this side. In which case, if I approach the stairs here and I start up the stairs, you now see that short delay. There's a delay, again, that doesn't need to happen on this side. So it's not a perfect system. It works, but you can get false triggers on your motion, again, just by walking by the bottom of the stairs because of that PIR sensor. So Dorfmeister's solution involved replacing that PIR motion detector with something called a time of flight or a distance sensor. Part of the issue with a PIR motion sensor, at least the ones that I'm using, it has a field of vision or field of view of about 100 degrees. So even despite placing fins on this and the stair blocking one, you still end up with something that looks something similar to this. So it's looking for motion anywhere inside of that circle. So when someone walks past the end of the stairs or moves up in this area, it still sees motion and triggers the stair lights to turn on. Using a time of flight sensor, first off, it automatically shortens the field of view down to about 25 degrees. Yeah, you can still see a little bit of area right here, but we're not going to be measuring motion, we're going to be measuring distance. So we're going to look for a change in distance right in between really this post and the sensor. So what we're really doing is we're going to create more or less an invisible beam that when you break that beam is going to turn the lights off or turn them on. So this is the current motion detector that's in use. It's a PIR sensor connected to a Wemos D1 Mini and placed in an enclosure and powered by a USB cable. So the goal here is to take a time of flight sensor connected to a D1 Mini with the initial goal of really just pulling this out of the existing case and dropping this in, powering by the same cable. In fact, if I, in ESPHome, name my binary sensor the same, I shouldn't even have to change any of my automations except to remove that artificial delay I currently have. Now, if all that works, I may end up reprinting this case, but I'm going to try to just do a straight swap out and see how that goes. So here's a little closer look at that time of flight sensor. Now this is an I2C device, so we do have a data line and a clock line, as well as our voltage in and a ground. So the wiring is going to be a little bit different than the PIR sensor, but it's not that complicated. So here's the original wiring for the PIR sensor. It's pretty simple and straightforward. We wire it up to 5 volts in ground, and then our detection pin, we wire back to one of our GPIO pins on our D1 Mini, and I happen to be using D6 here. Now the time of flight sensor really isn't that much more complicated. In this case I wired it up to 3.3 volts in ground, but now we have two wires. We have our clock and our data. And we do have to wire those back to particular pins, at least on the D1 Mini. We need to wire the clock to D1 and our data to D2. And that's because those are the two pins on the D1 Mini that will work with I2C, which is the communication method used by the time of flight sensor. So really it's a pretty simple upgrade and swap out for the PIR sensor. Now again, the soldering of this is pretty easy, so I'm not going to show it in detail. Again, we're only talking 5 wires here between the Wemos D1 Mini and the TOF, or time of flight sensor. So I did go ahead and decide to redesign and print a different lid for the box, since I no longer going to need those fins, and this just didn't want to fit well in the back of the existing lid. I went ahead and redesigned this, and since Dorfmeister is also making me up my 3D printing game all the time, I actually decided to put mounting screws in here instead of what I normally would have done, which would have been just hot glue the heck out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and print another case. So what we ought to be able to do is actually just unplug the other one, plug this one in, and if all else fails, we can reverse it and put the old one back. Okay, so here's the final sensor all put together. Functionally, this is the same exact box that holds our PIR sensor. So once we get the ESPHome code on here, hopefully the plan is just to be able to swap these out and be able to see the advantage of the TOF sensor. Let's take a quick look at the ESPHome code. Over here on the left is my current, or my original version, using my PIR sensor. It's very simple. It just has a binary sensor that reports true or false based on motion. I do add a switch to all of my ESPHome devices, and that just allows me to remotely reboot them if I need to. And you can also see where I've got that half-second delay that tries to address my problem of that PIR sensor picking up motion that's not really truly at the bottom of the stairs. That's what we hope to fix with the time of flight version. Over here on the right is Dorfmeister's version for the time of flight, or the distance sensor. You'll see that he's added I2C here at the top. But when he and I first talked about this, I was concerned about how much data or how often it was going to be sending over to Home Assistant and could fill up your logs. You'll notice that this is scanning for every 1/10 of a second. Now you could slow that down so it wouldn't be sending as much data, but you might also miss an event. Someone might go through and break that beam, and you might miss it if it's not updating often enough. So what he did is he came up with a brilliant idea to create a virtual binary sensor. So this binary sensor is what's going to report to Home Assistant, and the binary sensor is set to true or false based on this time of flight sensor. And he's doing that by using a lambda. So what it's doing is it's running every 1/10 of a second, but when the distance falls below a set value, I've got mine set to 0.6 meters, that's about 23.5 inches. When the distance goes less than that, it automatically sets this virtual binary sensor to true. So basically it's like we've just detected motion. Then when the beam goes back to a value greater than that, it resets this value back to false. So this way, even though it's running constantly every 1/10 of a second, the only time Home Assistant is being updated is when the value of this binary sensor changes. It's a brilliant solution. Here is our ESPHome dashboard. As you can see, my current PIR sensor is online and available, and my new time of flight sensor is currently offline. Now, in a perfect world, what I would hope to do is take this one offline, bring this one online, and I would have all of my same entities. But as we look over here, here are my current entities with my PIR sensor. Here's my Stair motion bottom. Knowing Home Assistant, even though that sensor is offline, when I bring the new one online, it's going to see one that's already defined and most likely add an _2 to the new motion sensor. Now I can easily fix that after the fact and after we've done some testing, but as much as I would hope that I wouldn't have to change anything, my guess is when I bring the new one online, we'll see a binary sensor, Stair motion bottom _2. We'll find out here in just a minute. All right, we've plugged the new sensor in. We can see that it's online, but we aren't integrated into Home Assistant yet. We have this notification. So we will go there, say we've got new devices, and there's our Stair motion bottom. We'll click configure. We're going to add that and submit. And this was new for me, but there is an encryption key in the file now. So we're going to copy and paste that into there for the API. We're going to submit that. And again, now it's going to prompt me for an area. I'm just going to choose my basement. Okay, and we are now configured. So let's go back to ESPHome for a second. Okay, we show that we are on. Oh, it's probably restarting. There we go. Okay, we're showing it is online. Let's take a look at our, yep, there it is, Stair Motion Bottom 2. That's exactly what I expected. Right now it's showing again, the motion is being off. Let's just try waving my hand. Oh, and we see that it came on, but it is very fast. So that appears to be working well. So we do have this problem with the 2, but we will fix that. So now it's a matter of going over and swapping out our sensors on the stairs themselves. And so since our box is exactly the same, the replacement is extremely easy. All we've got to do is unplug the old one, plug the new one back in, and it will actually mount right back into the same hole in the same position as the original. So that part was extremely quick and easy. Okay, so we're ready to give this a test. Everything is replaced, everything is turned back on. We approach the steps, and sure enough, it still works like normal. And the one thing that I noticed that's really great is motion sensors normally have a cooldown time. The one I was using was about 5 seconds. This doesn't have that issue. If I do this and immediately come back up, it immediately turns the lights back off. But let's see if it solves the biggest problem of coming around the stairs from the side and setting off what used to be the PIR sensor. There you go. Problem solved. So now walking by the stairs, by the foot of the stairs, walking by this opening here, no longer triggers our motion, but as soon as we start up the stairs, we no longer have that delay, and everything works perfectly. And while my motion detector at the top doesn't have the same problem just because of the walls and the door, the other one is so responsive, I think I'm going to go ahead and replace this PIR sensor with another time of flight sensor as well. So other than the time it took to reprint a case and a lid on the 3D printer, the entire upgrade process took less than 30 minutes, and it has made a huge difference. And so once again, a huge thanks to Dorfmeister for coming up with this solution and sharing it with me. I will leave a link down in the video description to his original Reddit post on this topic, along with a gist that has the ESPHome code in it. In addition, I will also update my original blog article on the Stair system with that information and with the wiring diagram for the time of flight sensor. And if you want to see the original Stair build in its full detail, a card will magically appear on the screen. And as always, if you found anything in this video that you liked, hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and ding that little bell icon if you want to be notified when I release new videos. As always, I would like to say thank you for watching, and I hope to see you soon.